it's all by chance. Like I look back at it, I was always great at writing and putting things together. And one day, man, I was like 19, 20, and my boy Pro Davis, he grew, he lived right next to me, moved in, met him. He was the one that really got me into the thing. I didn't know how to rap. I wanted to. Kind of took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, and we kind of took off from there, bro. Like I'm very fortunate, and I feel like I'm very spoiled when it comes to music, because as soon as I started, it really hit the ground running. And not a lot of people get that opportunity that, you do your first show, you come in, you immediately start getting shows and start getting views. Sometimes that takes time. So I always tell people, man, that I was spoiled with it, because as soon as we started dropping, we dropped a song called Dear Jesus. It's out on YouTube, Facebook. That song hit the ground running, man, and it got us everything as far as shows and content. So, yeah, man, it was all by chance, but I'm glad that I took it and ran with it for sure.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode here on the JDG Podcast. JimmyDukesGaming, don't let the gaming fool you, with another conversation here as we talk to different people of walks of lights and different things they got going on. Today, I am very fortunate to have local musician from, not even local, just everywhere musician and producer, King Nex. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Hey, look, I appreciate you for having me on the platform. What you do is very important, not only for musicians, but anybody that is trying to up their craft. Things like this is something that people definitely have to get into. So I appreciate you for having me on here. We're going to have a good time, brother. Appreciate you.
Hell yeah, man. I love that. Like when we were kind of chopping up a little bit before we started, just like, I love sitting down and having conversations, especially with people I've never really met or known.
Yep.
And it's always like, I say this almost every goddamn time. Like, it's like I unlock little doors on my brain and I gain a new perspective on life.
Yep.
When I talk to somebody that's, pursuing something and whatever their journey is in life, you know what I mean? So I appreciate you too as well, man.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, it's always good to, have that practice talking to different people of no matter where they come from, you know what I'm saying? Whether that's even at your 9 to 5 or doing things like this, being able to sit down and communicate with people is just something that is a very good talent to know. So yeah, brother, especially in the podcast, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you guys got to be talkers. You know
hey, man, I mean, for me, I haven't got to the point to where like I feel like I can't handle it. But the most people I've ever had on is 2.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I haven't had it really like where it's like like four people where all of it just everybody's talking shit or whatever. But usually a lot of the conversations are just like, more geared to what's going on with the guest and and things like that. So that kind of leads me to my first question, like. How did you get into the whole music industry? Like what led you to just wanting to do music or inspire you to get in the music game?
Yeah, like really, man, it's all by chance. Like I look back at it, I was always great at writing and putting things together. And one day, man, I was like 19, 20, and my boy Pro Davis, he grew, he lived right next to me, moved in, met him. He was the one that really got me into the thing. I didn't know how to rap. I wanted to. Kind of took me under his wing, showed me the ropes, and we kind of took off from there, bro. Like I'm very fortunate, and I feel like I'm very spoiled when it comes to music, because as soon as I started, it really hit the ground running. And not a lot of people get that opportunity that, you do your first show, you come in, you immediately start getting shows and start getting views. Sometimes that takes time. So I always tell people, man, that I was spoiled with it, because as soon as we started dropping, we dropped a song called Dear Jesus. It's out on YouTube, Facebook. That song hit the ground running, man, and it got us everything as far as shows and content. So, yeah, man, it was all by chance, but I'm glad that I took it and ran with it for sure.
Yeah, I like that that's great, man, because I tell people all the time, like, oh, it must be nice. Like, sometimes, bitch, like, fuck, like, you take advantage of opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've always done that in my life with everything, when it comes to, like, school, work, or whatever. I just feel like my mom always told me, and God rest her soul, she was like, take opportunities, you might as well. And a lot of the times, like, you'll be put in a position where somebody's like giving you like kind of like already like an alley-oop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of time when people like vouch for you, that's one thing like I always say too, man, I hope that nobody could ever say that I was like a bad vouch. You know what I mean? For anything. That's like kind of like the worst thing when somebody says, yeah, check out so-and-so, that fool's dope. You're like, oh, no, that fool's trash. Like, or things like that. But, you know, shout out to your boy for like, hey, man, he put me up. You know what I mean? And I like how people, I feel like everybody should get their flowers while they're here. Like everybody feels like sometimes like, no, I did this shit, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, man.
But
he didn't have to. I was terrible.
Yeah.
I was terrible at that time. I go back and I listen to it and I'm like, oh man, what was he? But you know what? Like it grew more into just, oh, this is music between us. You know what I'm saying? It grew into a brotherhood. So, you know, definitely appreciate him and what he did. But yeah, man, you know, like you said, those alley-oops are great. Yeah. But you got to do something with them. Yeah. You got to do something with them.
Hey, man, those alley-oops will come in and you'll still brick it. You're like, damn, shit like that. But, you know, with the whole music thing as you got in, like, before, obviously, you were already listening to music. What were some of the influences that you had growing up, and you know, people that you would listen to and kind of like learn from how they, you know, with their craft?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as influences, brother, I really got to say, like, I remember going back and listening to people like Ludacris growing up. I was 11.
Luda.
Yeah, Luda, man. I was 11, 12 singing this shit. I shouldn't have been singing that shit. I shouldn't have been singing that shit at all. But nah, man, people like Ludacris, and then you got people like Wayne, and then you know, lyricists like King Los, and just there's so many people, bro, in this music industry that have so much talent, and there's so much stuff that you can learn from people that I took a little bit of everybody. You know what I'm saying? I seen how Wayne switched his flow up and used his cadences and similes and metaphors. And then I took shit from Los where he'd had those double entendres, and, you know, so a lot of people, man, even new school, like I listen to the new kids out nowadays and they're coming up with some crazy shit and some crazy flows, man. So I'm not a hater, you know what I mean? Music is always growing and it's always evolving. And I'm influenced by the people that just come into the studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Any kid, 18-year-old kid, hey man, I just want to work. All right, come in. He spits some shit. I'm like, man, this kid is good. You know what I mean? So I'm influenced by everybody around me, not just people in the industry, but anybody that I bring into my domain and show them the ropes. And those are the people, honestly, nowadays, because I try not to think too much into the music, because you don't want to sound like somebody. Yeah, you know what I mean? So the people that come in, man, those are really like my inspirations nowadays, because I see how much people are grinding and how quick things move, you know? So yeah, brother. Tons of fucking influences in my life for sure.
Yeah. I like how you said that, because, you know, for me, you know, we were kind of just talking about me being a streamer and everything. I would see how people would do things and wouldn't do things, and I felt I can use that, or I can kind of tweak it. Yep. And then, you know, when I started kind of getting away from just playing games and just, you know, doing the podcast thing and just more editing, and I was like, damn, I like the way this fool does this thing, and I would have never looked that way, or I was more open to hearing somebody talk about something, even though, let's say, like a content creator that does a bunch of anime stuff and they're doing about all this shit. I'm not really anime stuff or whatever, but the way they set up their content, the way they go about it, I look at it that way. Yeah. Like, oh damn, this fool's did this, then he edited this out, then he brought this in, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And that gives me an idea, and I'm like, oh shit, I got motivated and inspired without even fucking realizing.
There's definitely a blueprint to everything. You know what I'm saying? I always like to say there's not a right way to do shit, but there is a wrong way. So there's always a blueprint, whether that's podcasting, music. Learn from the people, man. That's the biggest thing you can learn is learn and just soak up knowledge. And even, you know, you look at podcasts like Joe Rogan and any podcast. It's always good to evolve with your audience as well. You know what I mean? So you look at podcasts how it was way before, and you see to where it is now, and you see the evolution. Yep. And you always got to be thinking of your evolution. You know what I mean? So yeah, brother, like, you know, the podcast thing, I don't know how you do it, man. It's tough. Tough.
You know, but I'm glad you brought up Rogan. A lot of people might not like him or whatever, but the reason that I've always liked him is because he was so open-minded, and I always felt that it was so cool that everybody was excited to talk to him. Yeah. And because the way he carried himself, and that he inspired me to start this podcast, because I was like, I want to do something different because I grew up. I'm a pretty social guy. You know what I mean? I'm pretty laid back. I ain't too crazy. You know what I mean? I stay in my lane. Yeah. And shit like that. So people always like, oh, Jimmy's cool. He's dope. You know what I mean? So I've always taken that to my advantage. The way I can kind of hold a conversation and I'm not too imposing as far as like what I want or like make people change their mind. But the way he would have different types of people on.
All different types.
I was just like, he has a scientist, and then he had a rapper, and then he had a comedian, then he had a fighter, and then I was like, I could do that. Yeah. I feel like even though like I might not know whatever the fuck's going on, I feel like I could learn something.
Absolutely.
And the people that are watching and listening can learn something too. So I was like, that was like my blueprint. I was like, all right, how did this fucker do this? All right, cool. I'm gonna do it kind of like this way. Yeah. And the way he would get guests. One small story is like, imagine he's like the #1 podcast in the world. So how many fucking emails does he get? The way he bases like to talk to people is like if it's something interesting he wants to talk about.
Yeah, if it interests him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's why it comes easy to him because he knows the topics at least a little bit. Yeah. Enough to want to know more.
Exactly.
So the people that are coming in are just, when you want to know something about somebody, it's so easy to ask the questions and think of the next thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, bro, that shit's Joe Rogan's on some other shit. But he took his podcast. I remember seeing it way back when it was just one little camera right there.
A bunch of fuckers of dudes, talking shit.
Sweating and shit in there. You know what I mean? And to what it's evolved now to the Spotify and YouTube. Yeah, brother, you know what I'm saying? There's no reason why you can't get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, man. I just I stay in my lane and I just enjoy the process and doing all that. With that being said, like, you were talking about the music and being influenced. Like, what got you kind of get you into the producing, and what are some of the producers that you kind of like and kind of like feed off of?
Yeah, brother. So when it comes to music, so you got your producers, right? Producers are like the people that make the beats, and then you got like your engineers, right? So me, myself, I gear towards the more engineering side of things, making things sound nice, making sure everything's crisp, mixed and mastered. Really what geared me towards that way, man, is I was just trying to cut out the middleman. Yeah. I was seeing how expensive these studios were and how much time and effort I was putting into it, and having to save up money and go to studios where they try to sell you like, hey, this is a great studio. And I was putting all my money into there and my music wasn't coming out the way I wanted to. You know what I mean? Like I go back and I listen to the stuff that I did at big studios and I'm like, they didn't really do nothing for me. You know what I mean? And that's probably not to their extent. I could have probably did better as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? But once I found out that shit, I can do this from home. And not only can I do this from home, but I can show people coming up that it can be done. And you don't really have to go to the big studio. The big studios are great. You know what I mean? They have all the equipment. They know what they're doing. But if you're someone who's on a budget and you're someone who doesn't want to spend that much money and you want to put your money into other things like your marketing, your clothing, anything, it's always good to go to the studios that we ain't gonna charge you so much, but we gonna make your shit sound great. And that's one thing I pride myself in, brother, is that I can put anybody in my studio and make your shit unrecognizable if it was at a big studio or you did it in an apartment in the Northeast El Paso. You know what I mean? So that's what I pride myself on for sure.
That's dope. I like how you said that, the middleman. When I was streaming a lot, one of the paths to success for a lot of content creators is editing.
Yeah.
And, I have an IT background, so it's not that I was scared, but at the same time, I was like, fuck, I have to learn this. But you look up how much people charge to edit stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not at that level to where like I could just be like, here's my stream, chop it up and make some reels and shit. So I was like, you know what? I sat down. I went to YouTube University, dog, and I sat there and I learned.
Likewise.
Yeah, dude, I sat there and I learned how to do things, And, growing up, I was kind of always just a computer guy. So I was like always like messing with Photoshop, Fruity Loops. I was making little beats, fucking with that shit, and Acid when like some homies would rap and shit. So I was always learning how that shit. So I was always like interested in that. So I was like, when it came to editing, I was like, man, once I learned how to edit, just taking the time, I was like, man, this shit. Like I was like, hey, who needs an editor? Shit, I can.
Isn't that epiphany so great when you finally feel like you learned something so well that you know that, oh, okay, I can do this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That feeling when you're like, damn, like I can do this, bro. Yeah. That's such a great feeling that like YouTube, brother. YouTube is such a big outlet for no matter what you're trying to learn. You know what I mean? Step by step, it's there for you at any given time. So yeah, I'm the same way, brother. YouTube, trial and error for years trying to get shit to sound right.
Trial and error with the talking about going back, how making it sound good. Like, can you talk about like you kind of like walk through the process of how your creative flow goes? Like, do you when you're on the musician side, do you listen to a beat or do you write lyrics first? Like, kind of talk about your creative process of when you're going through you're doing a track or being a producer and like that.
So with me, it's a mixture of everything, right? It's a mixture of, I had some cool lyrics that I just thought of one day, or I sit down and I listen to beats, you know what I mean? So where I like to start my process, where it comes, it's so tedious going through beats and you're going through the next one and the next one. But once you find that one, man, I go based off of my vibe. What am I feeling right now? You know what I mean? Do I want to feel like I want to talk my shit and be someone who's conceited and cocky right now? Or do I want to be a little bit mellow, talk to the ladies, talk personally, you know what I mean? So once I find that beat, everything just comes so quickly, you know what I mean? So you find the beat, get your lyrics down. Once you have the lyrics, everything else is easy. You know what I mean? It's once you've been in the studio and once you're able to put your voice on the mic and you know how you want to sound and you found your voice as an artist, at that point it's like, music is so much about like layers and harmonies, and that's what a lot of people forget nowadays is when you go into a studio and you have great lyrics, you might have a great song, but if you go in there and it's just like, you got one take and you got a couple ad libs and ins and outs, there's a whole process that I had to learn. You know what I mean? I was wondering, why isn't my shit sounding good? I had to sit down and go on YouTube and listen to these artists and be like, what are they doing different than I am? It can't just be the studio. You know what I mean? It can't just be the studio. So once I started picking up the intricacies and hearing things in the background and being able to pick like, I hear this. I didn't hear this before. Oh, wait, they did this here. There's delays, there's reverb. It made everything so much easier to me, brother. So the writing process is easy. Tedious, finding the beat, writing process is easy, and then getting in there and mixing it is the fun part at the end of the day.
Hey, I it's so crazy how you said the like hearing things in the background. Like I'm a snob for sound. Like, I got nice headphones when I play video games. I got like $300 headphones. I have some Bose Quiet 2 headphones when I listen to music. And one of my favorite artists, his name is Hobson, and he does all his producing. And I'll watch videos of him and he's like, yeah, I added this, then I added this, and then I layered it. Then I'm watching it and then he puts it all together. I'm like, holy shit. You hear so many damn things in the background that your ear is not listening because you're listening just to the
main vocal,
the 808, the main vocal. And then you're like, yeah, this is hard. But when you like listen, like that's so interesting to me because like how you said it is like when you start going to that different level, that's when it's like, holy shit, like that just makes it that sound that much better.
And that's the first thing that I teach people that come into my studio, bro. Like, I have a lot of artists that are like really trying to learn how to record themselves, find their voices, learn the techniques and stuff of recording. And that's always the first thing that I explain to them. Like, look, get yourself one good take where you like the way you sound, you like the way you're rapping, you like the way you're singing. I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell you to add these little things and you're going to see how much it brings out your vocal and your music. Now, there's a difference. I always tell people there's a difference. Are you coming in here to just be on the mic and rap? Or are you coming here to make a song? Yeah. Are you coming in here to make something sound good sonically? So if you want something to sound good sonically, yes, there's so many different layers and stuff that you have to do. And as you find yourself as an artist, and it just comes so much more easier to you. And like you said, with your headphones, it's funny that you say that because the other day I was looking at studio monitors, right? And whenever you're mixing and whenever you're hearing yourself, you're always going to hear yourself differently. You know what I mean? So it's very important to at least in my opinion, get something that you're comfortable with. Learn those sounds coming out of that speaker. You know what I'm saying? Listen to so much music, listen to as many things as you can from those speakers. So that way, when you go in and you start mixing and you start rapping into a mic, you know how it wants to sound automatically, and it's going to come more naturally to people.
Yeah. You like the whole, we were talking about the mic earlier too. When I started streaming, a lot of people just use a shitty mic and, and then nothing wrong with that. Just like, that's how, but one of the biggest things when I was like running my streams, I'm like, I wanted to look good and I wanted to sound good.
Yeah.
Cause I always prided myself. I always fuck with the filters for the mic. Because I always felt like when people are like talking, they hear like people in the fan in the background, you hear dogs and people talking. I've always felt like, oh, that's not professional. So I always felt like, you know, getting down and, you know, making the filters and sandwiching it, like it doesn't go too loud, talk low, it's still good, and things like that. And people would look at me like I was crazy, but when they come to the stream, like, damn, that shit looks good, it sounds good. I'm all, thank you, man. You don't know how long I fucking sat there to fuck with it, because like I cared about that. It goes, you know, kind of what you were saying, people do things for different reasons, and it's all good. You know what I mean? But if I really get into something, I get into it, dog. I can't just be mediocre. I want to try to at least be kind of decent. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then especially like when you're having conversation, you want to be able to hear everything. You know what I mean? I've heard mics where it's like, oh man, it cut off this and it cut off. It could be an EQ and compression kind of thing. But like I was telling you earlier when we were talking about the mics, I was like, man, this mic sounds warm. I'm so used to hearing myself in my own mic that when I heard it here, I was like, oh, okay. And you know, and it got me thinking, like, there's so much different mics out there, bro.
Oh, dog.
That you don't even know which one sounds best to you. Right? You know what I'm saying? You don't even know. So. And they're so expensive. I went to Guitar Center the other day and I was like, man, these motherfucking mics. But I record on a Shure SM7B, right?
That's what I want.
Shure SM7B.
I want the newer one though, where you don't have to get the cloud lifter. I want it the all-in-one.
SM7DB.
Yes,
that's the one I got. You don't need the cloud lifter, but it's the same everything.
Yeah,
it literally
that's like $600 microphone,
bro. It literally has the cloud lifter in it and everything, bro.
Dope.
And that mic, bro. Like when I bought it, the dude was like, oh, what are you doing, podcast? And I was like, no, I'm recording. And he's like recording music. And he was like, oh, Shure SM7B. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, I know what I'm doing, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what I'm doing, bro.
A little history about that Shure SM7B, like that, they've only made like 3 or 4 different models since the beginning of time. And one of the first generation or second, Michael Jackson did Thriller on there, dog.
I was telling my boy that every time they're like, oh, I like your mic. Yeah, it's the same mic Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Just to let you know, I ain't fucking around and shit.
To the motherfucker that told me that you can't make music with this, Michael Jackson did.
Yeah. So with the whole, you know, going to the whole creative process, you know, growing up listening to music, and you have different influences and the way you go about the process of your creative flow. You know, how do you balance the creativity of, you know, your everyday life, whatever you got going on personally, you know, and to keep the creative juices flowing? Because people always tell me like, damn, Jimmy, how do you keep going? And I always tell people everything that I go about my business is different than everybody else. But I'm always curious when I talk to somebody who's pursuing something in their lane, you know, how do you balance all that kind of stuff?
I love that question, brother. I love that question because that is one of the hardest things that you can do is balance your personal life and doing what you love, right? The way I found that balance is I have to make sure my foundation is solid. You know what I'm saying? I have to make sure my bills is paid. I got to make sure my car is right so I can pay the bills. And I got to make sure my family has everything that they need.
That's what's up.
If there's something in there that is off, there's a bill coming up for some reason I can't pay it. Hasn't happened in a while, but if there's a bill in there and I can't pay it, there's no way I can get myself in the musical mode. You know what I mean? And I always encourage people, you know, make sure you have a solid foundation. Make sure you got that 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you do, whether it's music, podcasting, martial art, anything, it costs money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It costs money. So you got to make sure that you have a solid foundation. First and foremost, man, make sure your bills are paid. If I was a motherfucking rapper and my bills wasn't paid, motherfuckers would be looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, your bills ain't paid. Your baby's hungry. Why the fuck are you out here focused on music right now? You know what I mean?
The priorities are not there.
Yeah, man. Your priorities are all fucked up. You should not be worried about music right now. But
bro.
Yeah, brother, make that foundation, man, make sure it's solid and you know, always find time to put your family, you know, your family's always going to be first no matter what, you know what I mean? And I'm learning that because now I have the mother of my child, my wife, right? You know, she lives with me and it's new to us. You know what I mean? It's new to me. It's new to her, you know, living with a spouse, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And, at first it was difficult because I'm used to being able to get on my music whenever I want.
Yeah.
I'm used to waking up and being like, oh, well, I'm going to go hop on this track real quick. You know what I mean? And I noticed that, you know, I got to find that balance to, you know, you always got to make the wife happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody know that.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, man, you know, solid foundation, keeping up with the time and knowing that, you know, you're going to have time to do everything you love, bro. But most important thing, just make sure you got your priorities straight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make sure you in the right mindset and everything's going to, you know, it's a snowball effect from there and it comes easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally 100% agree, man. You know, when I was going in on streaming a lot, it was always like, leave me alone. I got to do this. Fucking, you know what I mean? And I just, you know, I have 2 kids, you know, I'm married, and sometimes like that bucket was getting too full, too fast, or I was moving in front of the line between everything else. And it was causing a lot of issues in my relationship and my work. And, you know, I don't want to be a shitty dad. You know, I don't want to be a shitty husband. Those are important things in my life, man. That's like, I don't want everybody to say like, Jimmy's a fucking dick. He doesn't pay his kids. He's pursuing all this. But I'm glad you said it, because I always feel like it took me time to get to this point to where like I'm confident and I'm juggling everything equally to where like I don't feel bad when I have to do things, because everything's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything's good. It took a while to get there, but like almost going about 3 years now, I'm like, I have a good head on my shoulders. The communication with my wife is really big, because I'm like, hey, I'm going to go cover a fight.
Yep.
So I'm going to be gone for like 6-7 hours recording. All right, I'm going to have some people over. I'm going to go over here to go record a podcast and things like that. But at the same time, I always tell people too, like, and I'm glad you say that, because you always want to kind of spit game. I always tell people, communication with your spouse, your significant other, whatever, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, having that relationship to be open and letting them know how important it is to you is very big. Because sometimes people like pursue something, but they don't really explain to other people how important it is to them. And at the same time, like, you're going to get those looks or whatever, and you're not going to get the respect. So like one of the hardest things I've always told a lot of my content creator homies is like, if your spouse, your wife, your girlfriend, boyfriend doesn't respect what you're doing, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. So
you got to have that. You have to have that to communicate that, like, hey, I know you don't understand this and you might not like this, but this is important to me.
Yep.
But you have to make sure that you're doing everything right.
Yep.
To make sure they respect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're fucking like over here not paying your bills, fucking not being home, going out, like, and then you're like, yeah, but I'm pushing for this. Like, bitch, you fucking doing shit, dog.
You ain't doing nothing. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Nah, brother. But yeah, you know, totally, like you said, communication with everything is key in your personal life. Whether that be, like you said, you know, anybody in your family, your spouse, when you have a dream and you have a goals and ambitions, it makes it so much easier when you're able to communicate with them and they respect it.
Yeah.
And you can find that balance and everything just feels easy. Work feels easy. You know, music feels easy. Podcasting feels easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, brother.
Yeah. I look forward to doing this shit, because I always make sure that everything's good. So when I can go do this, I always saying, I don't have to worry about this in the back of my head. I'm creatively, I'm good. I'm aware. I'm rested. I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything. Because that's like one of the worst things, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this because I got X, Y, Z going on.
Yeah,
that kind of pulls away what you got going on. You know, it's tough. I mean, it's not always perfect, but knowing that you can kind of juggle to where you can kind of get to that point to where you don't have to worry about shit going on in your personal life, that you can pursue what you got going on.
And I don't know how people do it, man. Like I've seen people where, you know, they ain't got shit going for them. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to be in a hard spot. You know what I'm saying? We've all been there. It's one thing to be in a hard spot. But it's one thing to actively in your mind say that you ain't going to do shit and, oh, I'm just going to do this. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, I can't do that, bro. If I'm trying to get in a creative process, the last thing I want on my mind is bills or making sure my family needs something. You know what I mean? I got to make sure my mind is clear.
Yep. Well said, bro.
Concise every time.
Yeah. The whole foundation thing, that's cool. I'm going to take that shit. You got to have that fucking foundation. That's dope, man. With that being said, man, you know, what are some common misconceptions about the music industry and then things that you've done or you should address? Like, I mean, a lot of people think like, oh, you're just rapping on it and just let's say you're putting it out. Good luck. You know, it's like, so talk about some misconceptions and things that you'd like to address, like how hard it is, how easy it is, and things like that.
A big misconception when it comes to the industry that I'm in is that if you have a great song, it's going to do great. You know what I mean? There's been times where I feel like I have a great song and I put it out and the numbers are not good.
Yeah.
Right. Music comes with so much more. You got to have your marketing. You got to have a budget for the music videos. You got to have a budget to make yourself look good. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, just having great music and having great content isn't enough. You know what I mean? You always have to have marketing is so important in everything that somebody does. And when you're in the entertainment industry and you want eyes to be on you, you got to put that money in and pay people to put those eyes on you. You know what I mean? Now, I always tell people that doesn't mean going and buying these fucking stream bots and all these bot farms and making your numbers look good. You know what I mean? You want to get your shit organically in front of people that are going to fuck with you and come back. And
fuck yeah.
That's a very big misconception is, oh, I have a great song. I'm just going to put it out and it's going to do numbers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not how it works, man. You got to have a whole fucking blueprint on what the next move. As soon as you fucking hit that send button and that song is out there, you have to already start coughing up money to get in those viewers on your eyes. And not only that, bro, but like nowadays, you have to have a lot of content. You got to constantly be putting stuff out and being consistent. Even if that's one song that you feel is great, you got to push that motherfucker for at least a month, maybe 3, and having content constantly about it and having people's ears wanting to go back and get curious about you. So that's the biggest misconception in my eyes, because I've learned the hard way on that shit. I'm like, man, this shit's hard. Put it out. I'm like, oh fuck. The fuck was I thinking? Well, I thought it was hard,
right? You know, like one thing that I can kind of relate to the whole the bots and shit like that, because I remember I would see streamers. I'm like, damn, that fool's tearing it up. And then like I go and there's nobody in their stream, but there's like 1,000 people like watching. I was like, how the fuck is this going on?
It's weird, right?
Or I'll go to YouTube and I'll go to their videos and there's like thousands of views, but they have no followers. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? But
thousands
it took me
of views, no followers,
no comments.
Yeah,
and then I was like kind of learning. I was like, oh shit. And then I would start learning about all that kind of stuff. And then that's when I felt like I'm glad you said the whole organic thing. I just feel like if people want to listen to me or see what I got going on, great. I appreciate it and thank you. If you don't, it's all good. Because some people get caught up in like, why not me? Why him and why her and why not me? Like you get so caught up in all that number stuff that you don't focus on what you should be focused on. How you're saying, like, what can I do that they can make, you know, my content better, my music better, and all this, and doing that. Because I love how you said the consistency. One of the biggest things is I tell people, like, damn, Jimmy, how do you do so well? I was like, dude, it's tough, but it just being consistent. Even a little like a video here, a reel here, a picture here, every day, like just something little. It doesn't have to be all big and shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But just constantly having people being interested and wanting to know, and you know, replying to people and thanking them and sharing shit and letting people know, hey, you know what I mean? Like that. I feel like if you put that out, people see that and it's more genuine to where like in the long run, it's gonna work.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Some people want that quick fucking fame, dog. Like they want that quick viral video. They want to just go quick and be like, yo, though so-and-so did it. Yeah. But that fool's been doing it for like 10 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You just started last week.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too. And that's where people like me and you grow, is working with as many people as we can that we know take it as seriously as we do.
Well said.
You know what I mean? People that take it as seriously as we do. And because if you had fucking Donald Trump in this motherfucker, you're going to get views.
Yeah.
People are going to see that and they're like, oh shit, I'm Donald Trump. Boom, let me click on it.
Yeah.
People are going to see, you know, anybody else you have, me included. And they might scroll away, not because they're not interested, but because they don't really know. They don't know what this person's about. They don't know what that person does. And whenever you work with as many people and they share it's a fucking, almost like a fucking pyramid scheme, right?
Yeah.
The people that you bring on here share it on their stuff. There are people that they love share it on their stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's how the organic happens. And you know, being consistent, brother, like it's so tough to be consistent, because sometimes you just want to kick back. Fuck, I had a long day at work. Yeah. I don't feel like posting no shit today. You know what I mean? But that's where we're going to excel, is being able to, you know, bring our community together. Because I don't see too many podcasts in El Paso.
Yeah, like I know that there's some out there, and I'm starting to get to know some of them. But one of the things that I've learned is just like everybody has a kind of different lane, and it's cool because I mean I might not be on somebody's radar, which is cool. You know what I mean? I don't ever worry about what everybody else is going on. But when I do get love, when I reach out to people that I fuck with, and I always let them know like, hey man, I see what you're doing and shit like that, and I just like supporting people that generally are doing something because. I get a lot of time like, hey, let me be on your podcast. I'm like, what do you want to talk about? Whatever you want to talk about. Well, that kind of doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So, and it's not like that I want to say no to anybody, but like, I'm just looking for genuine conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've always like, I always felt that I want to do it my way. And if it doesn't blow up or whatever, it's okay. I always feel like I'm being myself. Yeah. I'm genuinely being myself. And I hope that people can see that. And the type of people are on here that I have, they can generally see that it's a good conversation, something positive, and might be inspired or learn something.
Yep.
You know, just learn something fucking new about anything that's going on. And like I said, I like just talking to people I don't really know. And then I kind of like, oh, fuck, that fool's dope. I sat down with him like 2 years ago. This fool's doing all this shit.
God damn, he's doing that shit now?
You know, that's so dope. Yeah. And that guy was so cool. And then I'll see you again, bro. I remember this. Oh, I remember you said you were going to do that shit. That's fucking dope. You know what I mean? And I feel like, when you meet the right type of people like that, I call them day twos, man. It just people that like they see you and meet you and they genuinely want you to do good, want nothing from you. And they don't have to be on your phone or liking everything, but it's genuinely saying, hey, what up, King? I see you, dog. Hey, man, I recently saw that shit. Hey, man, Absolutely. I appreciate it. And that's it.
That's it.
You know, and that's it. A lot of people are like, hey, you don't like my shit. You don't share my shit. Like, don't be worried about that shit, man. You know what I mean? The genuine conversations and relationships will come if you put that out there in the universe, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel that way, like big time, man. I just like people get so caught up in like the me thing. It's like, man, just everything will come. Whatever you put out, you'll get back.
Timing.
You know what I mean?
Timing is everything when it comes to everything, brother. Timing is important because, you know, like you said, you never know who's gonna be sitting on this couch one day. You know what I'm saying? And when you go back and you look at all the conversations which you had with people, there's going to be growth.
Yeah.
From those people, from you. And when you start to see that growth and you start to see the process that you've created starting to take effect, it's a beautiful feeling, brother. It's a beautiful feeling.
Yeah. I've had people like when I've had them on, you know, shout out to a lot of like Versatile Breed, you know, he was they're a clothing company. They're on the East Coast in Connecticut. He was a streamer homie, and you know he was tearing it up on Warzone and shit. Shout out Smoke and shit. And he's like, I want to do this shit, man. And me and this fool were doing all that shit. And I had him on like a year and a half ago, and they're putting on fucking fashion shows. They're making carpets. They're making sweaters. I'm like, dope. Dog, we talked about that shit.
That's
and I
dope.
fucking love seeing that, dude, because I could genuinely see that. He was honestly trying to push it in his own way, and he was a good dude.
Yep.
You know, and him and Danny were doing it. So shout out to Versatile Breed, man. I was like, hey, man, you fucking put us out. They be sending me sweaters all the time. I'm like, hey, man, I live in El Paso. I don't even get to use this shit. Bro, yeah, dude, I love seeing that, bro. I love seeing that shit.
It's beautiful. I always joke around with people, too. When we're in the studio and we catch a vibe, like if we make a great song and we're in there vibing and just talking about shit in the studio, right? I always tell people, like, this is what people talk about in their biographies.
Yep.
When people are sitting having interviews and you see people doing interviews, it's moments like this that people go back and reflect on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, bro, I love it. I love it.
That's what's up. Well, talking about like being in the studio, man, you know, what are some most challenging projects you've worked on and what you learned from them? You know, I mean, obviously you collaborate making the music, you collaborate producing the music. So talk about some of the most challenging things that you've worked on and how'd you overcome them?
You know, there's always a challenge, man. I always love to push myself no matter what. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to be successful and be comfortable. You know what I mean? So as far as like projects come easy to me now. It's at a point, you know what I'm saying? The most challenging thing is knowing what the next step is after you have that great song. You know what I mean? Like we talked about earlier, the marketing and putting yourself in the right position with that. I feel like that's the most challenging thing to me now because I'm at a point in my life and I've put in so many hours into this shit that the music is so natural at this point. No matter who comes in the studio, I can hear someone rap and be like, boom, we know what we're going to do already.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So as far as that comes naturally, man. And I'm constantly pushing myself and learning new things when it comes to the mixing thing, because you never know everything. You know what I mean? And when you deal with, a female artist who's a singer, and you deal with a male artist who's a singer, there's always different challenges in trying to get that sound out. Because one thing that we do as engineers, when you overthink it and you do too much, you're gonna lose the feeling of that sound. You know what I mean? You're gonna lose it. So challenging right now, and things that I've had to overcome, man, right now really is just getting into that marketing. That shit is the most, because you never know nowadays. You never know who's trying to get $1. You never know who's genuine. You know what I'm saying? And shout out my boy Lamar. I worked with my homie Lamar, bro, and he I'm gonna tag him in Instagram post, but little things that he did, like, hey, let me FaceTime you and tell you what I'm trying to push for you, right? And sitting down and talking to somebody like that, and him saying, look, this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna get you. They got me like a little article on one of these hip hop pages.
Yeah, I read that shit. Hell yeah, that's
bro.
dope.
Like the little article on the hip hop page, and okay, we're gonna do this, and this is how you be successful. And to see it happen, it's like, okay, I know that that's someone that can be a part of what I'm doing. If I need something like that done, I know I can call this person, and I know that there's gonna be results.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, is differentiate who's trying to get $1 from you and who really is genuine about pushing your stuff. So yeah, man. I mean, it's always a challenge. You know what I'm saying? But that's the beauty of everything, is challenging yourself and getting yourself to that next step and being uncomfortable. Because once you get comfortable with the uncomfortable, there ain't nothing that's gonna hold you back from none of the shit that you do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I like that you brought up you don't know who is who sometimes. You know what I mean? It just, everybody's always trying to just pull on that person to pull themselves up. You know what I mean?
Want a Cash App nowadays. Goddamn, what you want?
Dude, I'm just like, it's so crazy. Like, I can genuinely feel like I've gone to to content creator conventions.
Yeah.
And you can meet you can see the people that are just in it for different reasons. Yeah. Right. And sometimes I'm like, oh, that fool's not in my lane. It's all good. I just stay away from them. Or I feel like some people are always just trying to get in that inner circle. Yeah. I'm like, dude, that inner circle's been there for X amount of time, and you think you could just show up and be a part of it. Some people don't understand that. It's just like, it's, and it's not that it's a bad thing, but you got to understand, you got to learn your lane too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you want to be respected and people want to fuck with you and see how serious you are, you trying to just jump in and try to be part of a group because you think it'll benefit you. Yeah. Because if you're thinking about yourself all the time, that shit's going to fucking show.
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously you have to like push for yourself in a certain way, but there's ways to go about it. You know what I mean? People can generally see, like, when people I have these conversations and we talk about, like, dog, that shit was dope. And I'm like, thank you. This is exactly what I'm trying to do. So if they ever see me or whatever, like, that fool's dope. That's how he really is.
Person. Yeah,
and that and I hold that, like, that's important to me, because I don't ever want to feel like anytime I have somebody on, like, I'm trying to get their numbers, or they're trying to get my numbers. I just wanted to be genuine and things like that, because everybody's always, what is that the crabs, everybody just pulls each other down and shit in the bucket. Everybody just trying to pull each other down. It's like funny. Nothing's fucking going forward.
Let me ask you something. We gonna switch. We gonna roll switch real quick. Right?
All right.
So, have you ever had anybody say that they gonna charge you, or they want to charge you to be on the podcast before?
I've had people say, how much do you charge for me to come on? And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I do this for free.
So would you pay for somebody to be on your podcast?
I feel like I'm at that point, and I don't think that I feel it wouldn't be genuine. I don't feel like I can, I would want to. I feel like I can talk to other people that would want to do it for free.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I'm sure there's people that do that, but that's not the kind of way I want to do my shit. I kind of want to have people that want to come on and have a genuine conversation. And if that money's a deal, a big thing to them, or kind of a thing, then obviously that doesn't work for me.
And that's very important that you say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I see like these hip hop blogs and these hip hop fucking podcasts and shit, and you can tell it's like that vibe is almost so toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like 90% of it is because of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? and you know, artists are always paying for features all the time, right? But the reason why I asked you is because I was curious. Like, I was thinking in my mind, like, if I had a podcast, right, and fucking, I'm just gonna throw a name out there, like if fucking Lil Wayne, right? If I say I had a hip hop podcast, and Lil Wayne told me, yeah, I'll get on your podcast for like, well, I'm just gonna throw a stupid number, 500. Give me 500, I'll be on your podcast, right? I feel like I would have jumped at that opportunity. Now, the reason for that, I got to think in my mind, like you said, is it going to be a genuine conversation?
Yeah.
Or is this going to be something where you get a quick dollar and, oh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got Wayne on the podcast, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it might benefit. You never know.
Yeah.
And I was curious, bro, because I always wanted to do stuff like this, like even sports, podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, I've always talked about it with the homies and stuff, but I always like to see, like, what people's mindsets are when they go into their craft. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, as far as I'm with you too. I'm with you. Like, I don't think if I have to pay someone to be here or to be on a podcast, it almost feels disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it in that perspective, obviously, but if you know, it's tough.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say that I wouldn't think about it.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it just kind of like it's kind of like a, you know, pay to win kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I feel like me generally, dude, I just feel like me doing it my way and not taking any not talk about taking short, because I just feel like I didn't get any hand-me-downs, or I don't know, man. That's kind of a good question, but I guess it kind of works both ways. I mean, if it makes sense to pay to have somebody for their time, then it kind of, you know what I mean?
You like me.
You know, like, I'm not going to say a hard no.
Yeah.
But if it makes sense to where, like, I value this guy's time, and if it's $500 and he generally wants to be like, hey, man, you just pay for my gas or for my flight to show up, I'll be on your podcast.
So who's a dream guest for you?
A dream guest? Damn. I mean, obviously Rogan, obviously, from, you know, I mean, any, like, you know, sports athlete, you know, I grew up, you know, GSP, one of my favorite UFC fighters, you know what I mean? Just talking to him, or, you know, Steve Yzerman from the Red Wings. I grew up in the 90s, and he was a captain for the Red Wings for 20 years. Yeah. You know, I mean, just the way he carried himself, I just would love to have a conversation with him and things like that. But yeah, I like how you ask those questions, because I mean, I'm in that point for me, you know what I mean? I just feel like this is a passion project, and money's not a thing for me.
A thing right now.
Not right now, right? Obviously, if I, you know, shout out to all the supporters and people that donate and help me out on YouTube and things like that. I appreciate, you know, shout out to Psycho Uncensored, this fucking board right here, Psycho Uncensored podcast. Cool. Thank you so much. Yo, hooked me up, took care of me with this. So, like, things like that, like, I generally, I'm fortunate that people want to help me out and do shit like that. But, you know, it's never about the money thing. I feel like if I keep doing what I'm doing, I feel that will come. You know what I mean? But in certain ways, like, kind of, you are like, hey, like, your time is valuable. You know what I mean? Because you're producing things like that, and they're putting out music. For me, it's just kind of like, I'm not at that point yet to where, like, revenue's like a key thing yet. Yeah. But eventually, obviously, if I have a studio and things like that, then, you know, kind of money and putting, but it kind of starts making into sense like that. But I appreciate that question though, man, because I never think about things like that until people bring it up. With you know, you were talking about the you know, the challenges, but, you know, what are some milestones in your life when it comes to your content and your music that you're proud of? Like, damn, like, I did that. That's dope. Not that was like you plateau. It just kind of like, hey, man, I said I was gonna do that shit, and I did that shit, and you know, and kind of moved on from there.
I always think about my music career in sequences, right? So I think about my first show. The first show that I ever did was with Young Money's Gutta Gutta. It was over at a spot off of Montana. I don't even remember. The V nightclub used to be. Nowadays it's a sweepstakes, but it used to be the V Club or something like that, right? And that being my first show, like, people dream to be on stage with you know, people that have a name. You know what I'm saying? And I look at that as, okay, my first show, I didn't even have time to think about failure. You know what I mean? I had no time to think. It's, oh, we got the show, we do it next week, we're going in there and we're getting it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, bro, that show specifically, being able to, like, go to different cities and perform in front of others, man. I've been to Dallas, Amarillo, Sacramento, You know what I'm saying? I've been a lot of places, man. So I'm real fortunate with that. Like those milestones, being able to meet people and really see what that side of the industry is. It was something that was surprising to an extent, but it felt familiar to me because I always felt like I put myself in those situations.
Yeah.
You know, I put myself mentally, I put myself like on stage already and things like that. And then like coming out here, man, and when things click and you perfect your craft, I'm always going to remember that day. I'm always going to remember the day where I put something on paper, put it in the computer, put it through my DAW, listen to it, and it sounded great. And I'm always going to remember that because from there, it was like, man, you mean I can do this and it's going to be easy like this all the time? All right, bet. But it's little things like that, man. Like right now, I'm at a point in music where I'm 30 years old. You know what I mean? And the life of a rapper is small sometimes. You know what I mean? At least I think so. And I always ask myself, how long do I see myself rapping, right?
Yeah.
Or what's the next? What am I going to get out of this next? You know what I mean? And there's always something that comes up that's like, oh shit, that's why I do it.
Yeah.
There's always someone that hits me up where it's like, oh shit, that's what's keeping me doing this shit. So, you know, any accomplishment that comes my way, I'm always grateful for. And we got to learn how to put ourselves in positions to succeed. And, you know, as far as like my next milestone, honestly, bro, like I'm ready to be on the big platforms. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm ready to be on radio. I'm ready to go on fucking Sway and spit a verse. I'm ready to go on the radar and show them like there's levels to this shit. You know what I mean? So that's my next move. How am I gonna get there? I don't know yet, but it's gonna come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you just know these things. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, it's like, you know, just keep grinding, keep pursuing, always have a goal in mind. You know what I'm saying? And keep chasing it, man. Keep grinding because this shit's tough. Even if it's just your 9 to 5, like having a goal in your number 9 to 5 is something that you have to have sometimes too. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's tough, but shit, you just gotta keep grinding at the end of the day.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy Reef. He was a 9 to 5 saves lives. You know what I mean? That was a homie of mine that he started streaming, and then we were kind of going to like we were both streaming, and then he was like, man, I don't know if I can just keep doing this shit, dog. I want to do more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he changed, you know, he started a clothing company. You know what I mean? He bought all the machines. He was doing it at his house, and just, I was like, damn, dog, we talked about that shit. And it was cool to see that he's like, man, I love creating content. I love doing this, but what can I do more like to provide for myself and something I could be creative to, thing like that. So he built that line. And I like that because one thing I always tell people is like, have that goal, that big goal, but just keep the small goals that lead to the big goal.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, I want to do that. Well, you got to do all these little things.
You got to do the little
to
things
get you in the position to be that successful. And I always tell people, small goals.
Yeah.
Be realistic.
Yeah.
You know, be realistic. Like make a goal that like I always tell like a lot of my streamer homies and content creator homies, I'm trying to get to 1,000 people by the end of the month. All right. I like that, but you know, that's out of your hands. That's up to everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, what can you do to do that? How about you make a video a week or you stream X amount of times? Like, what can you do to make that goal? When you look at it that way, it's more realistic because some people just throw up shit and think that they're going to fucking do it, but they're not doing the steps to trying to get to that point.
Trying to take shortcuts. You can't take shortcuts in anything that you do, man.
Yeah, man.
But, yeah, brother. I mean, I guess one of my goals really that I can think of right off the top of my head is I want to work with as many people in this area as I can, bro. I love when people, you know, message me and they're like, hey, man, I want to work. I'm hungry for it. I don't care how many followers you have.
Yeah.
I don't care what your situation is. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I'm gonna scope you out and see if you.
Yeah, how serious.
How serious you are. And can I bring you to my home? You know what I'm saying? This is where my studio's at and my baby sleeps here.
Yeah.
But everybody that I brought around me so far, man, has benefited me. And I'm grateful for that. No matter how many followers they have, word of mouth for me has worked better almost than social media has.
Yeah.
And I think of that, and it makes me feel good because it's like, damn, like we live in an age where social media runs everything. And for my name to get out there more from word of mouth than social media, it's like, damn, that shit
that's
feels
dope.
good,
Yeah, you
man.
ever hear this fool? That fool's dope. Yeah, when he fucking did this shit. Hell yeah. You know what, man? I've been looking for something.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it works like that. That's dope, man. I like that. With it, that kind of segues my perfect next question. Like, what is some advice and some things that you would tell somebody? Like you talked about, you have a lot of younger guys or people that are just getting in. Like, what are some tips and advices and things and do's and don'ts that you've learned that you kind of tell these guys about to keep in mind, and some gems?
Yeah, man. You know, not only with music, but in life in general, you gotta watch who you have around. You know what I'm saying? You gotta watch your circle, because, you know, my pops always told me, man, like when you step out of your home, you represent your family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People are gonna look at you like, damn, they raised that motherfucker if you're out here being crazy. You know what I mean? So always watch who you have around you, man, because this shit can end at any given moment.
Yep.
Like you can have anything taken from you at any given fucking time. And if you're proactively putting yourself in fucked up situations because of the crowd that you're in, fuck rap. You know what I'm saying? Fuck rap, bro. Like when you're locked up, the last thing you're going to think about is rapping.
Right.
At least that's what I would be. You know what I'm saying? So any advice that I give people, brother, before I give advice about music, you know what I'm saying? I always tell people, man, before you even start talking into a mic or spitting into a mic, look at your surroundings and look at yourself first. Because if not, you're just doing this shit for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No fucking reason. Put yourself in a place to be successful. Put yourself around people that want to be successful and want to see you succeed as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then once you have that, and once you feel like you have that, music shit is easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The music shit is easy. So, yeah, man, just, you know, get your mental right. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that have love and compassion, and they want to learn too, and you learn from them and they learn from you. And when you have that, everything just seems so much easier, man. So when it comes to advice, man, I have a lot of young kids that come into my studio, and it's like I peep them out at first on social media, you know what I'm saying? And I check their vibe, and they'll be talking about, oh, I had a homie do this, or I'll be hearing little conversations they be having in the studio. And I'm like, man, these kids, like, y'all don't even know, bro. Like, you have a golden ticket right now. You're 18, 19, and you gonna throw that away. You know what I'm saying? You gonna throw that away for what? To impress someone else? You know what I'm saying? So before you even think about music, man, make sure your life is right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that shit.
Right.
That's perfect, because I anytime, and I like kind of like, you seem like a mentor type of guy. Like you like taking that on, and like if people genuinely want to learn something or kind of be around, I'm like that too. Like, you know, I have an IT background. Anything that, you know, comes with computer stuff and stuff like that, I help out.
Yeah.
And, you know, anything like with cameras and things that I've learned, and I've had photographers on here, I'm like, hey man, how do you do this shit? Like, hey, I'm gonna edit this shit. And like, you kind of like, those are the type of people that you need to have around, because we all level up each other.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just being around each other, having conversations, like you level each other up, but it's not like, what can I get out from you, and vice versa. It's more like just genuinely like, hey man, how you were asking me about this earlier on. I'm like, yeah, this and this. I was like, oh, cool. I like, if anybody has a conversation, like wants to know something within reason, I always try to help out within reason. Yeah. It's not taking too much time or whatever. If I see that they're serious, then I love, like, you know, kind of spitting game, because I've only been doing this for 5 years, but a lot of people are like, man, you're an OG. I was like, I ain't done shit. No, I don't feel like I've done anything, but I appreciate it. And I always feel like I'm always learning, even if it's somebody that does something that's not even in my lane. I hear them talk, and I'm like, oh shit, maybe I can implement that in my way for my branding and shit like that.
Fuck yeah. And the reason why they give you that OG status is because 5 years doing something consistently is a long time for something. You know what I'm saying? Doing something for 5 years straight is a long time to people, especially a hobby. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they gave you the OG status.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, Jimmy, I was like, I ain't doing shit, dog. Like,
no, man, but
I appreciate that kind of hearing that. Yeah, because you know what I mean? It just like, people respect that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because like they wouldn't just say that just to say that, and then the way they, you know, they might look up to you or might respect what you have to say. it's important too.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to lead anybody the wrong way or gas them up the wrong way either. I don't ever want to. I always tell people, like, I appreciate the praises, but I don't need the pat on the back all the time, because some people always need that pat on the back.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, like if you're depending on the pat on the back all the time, man, that pat on the back might not be there when you need it, right? It's shit like that, man. But with that being said, man, we kind of talked about a little bit of, your listening to music, the way you handle yourself and in the studio, and and things like that are important to you. Kind of talk about some collaborations, some projects you got coming on. Like, I mean, you don't have to say dates or anything, but kind of like things that you got coming on that you can kind of talk about right now that people can look forward to.
Man, I got so much work right now, brother, that I have new music coming out with a bunch of different El Paso artists.
Dope.
And I got people like my boy Big Sam, Pro Davis, Jay Quince. All of these people that I've worked with have their own unique style and their own unique thing about them that makes them so fucking dope, that when this shit hits, it's going to be a whole fucking snowball effect. And I already see it coming.
Hell yeah, that's dope.
I worked with my boy, he goes by my friend Olive. Make sure you follow him, man. Great singer, great performer, great rapper. He's just so multi-talented, man. And everything that we do, my boy JD, he's been in there as well. All these people that I'm working with right now, it's a bunch of different sounds, and I think it's going to surprise people what they hear. You know what I'm saying? I'm proving that I can rap. And I always tell people that I'm done proving that I can rap. I already know I can rap. I already know you can put me somewhere and I can spit some hard shit. I want to show people that I can make music sonically sound good and make you want to go back to it and bump that shit over and over.
That's so cool.
You know what I mean? So that's the next step that I'm taking, making great music coming out sonically, different sounds, while keeping yourself and making this sound dope, man. So bunch of different collaborations. I'm always trying to work with artists in the area, man. El Paso, Las Cruces. Make sure y'all hit me up, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would love to work with everybody.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I always feel like, I always kind of get out, like recently I started doing more videography stuff and getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Cause I feel like I can have certain conversations with people that I normally wouldn't, because I'm out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And you get to learn new things, and then I have opportunities to talk to people who might want to be on here, or they wanted me to, like, I've had people like, hey, be on my podcast. I'm like, bro, I don't feel like like I appreciate it, but I don't think it makes sense to be on your platform. They're like, no, don't sell yourself short, man. Come on now.
But do that shit. You gotta do that shit.
Yeah,
brother.
But that's the thing, me, man. I'm just like such a laid back guy. I'm just like so like just chill, man. But like I like, when people want to collaborate and things like within reason, if it makes sense, I mean,
I feel it.
Yeah, because a lot of time people be just hitting me up or whatever, and I'm just like, hey man, you're late. You didn't get back to me. I told you to fill this out. Hey, you know what I mean? Just like, I can tell somebody's seriousness because of that. Because I've had people, and I like how you said that earlier too. You're like, I like to peep them out first. You know what I mean? Not that I'm like the fucking man, but if you're saying that you want to do something and collaborate, and I see that you're not doing anything that you said that you want to talk about and doing, then it's kind of hard to take you serious.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard to take, but I appreciate that you took the time to be like, yeah, man, I want to do this. And we were kind of checking each other out for a little bit of time. And I genuinely appreciate that. You know what I mean? Because I respect that, because I didn't know you, and I'm still getting to know you, and I look forward to getting to know you. It's just like, I could feel like you were putting out the videos and you rapping at those locations. I was like, that shit is dope. And, and then the article, and just I could see that you're working with different people. I was like, that's the kind of people that I want to talk to. That generally like are pushing something that I don't know about, and if they want to give me their time for a little bit and share some inspiration and talk to people and have some people hear some shit, that's like the shit that I fucking look forward to, dog.
Yeah, bro, it's exciting, brother. Like I was telling people, I'm like, man, I want to get on some podcasts. I feel like that's my next step, like being able to sit down and talk to people, because people love to see who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They want to put a face to the music. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've lacked in that in some instances. But now I'm ready to put myself out there and show people, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I wanted to do this.
Hell yeah.
And I forget how I came across your one of your podcasts one day. You were in a gym, I think. and you were doing like some MMA kind of podcast, and I was like, that shit's tight. Like,
oh yeah,
bro, I love UFC and MMA, like boxing. I love.
Shout
that
out
shit.
to my coach, Justin Gonzalez at Grind. Yeah, I did a podcast with my coach because he runs a gym and he's a bit of black belt, and I was like, hey man, you want to talk? He's like, fuck yeah. I'm like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean?
That's dope.
So we
bro.
sat down and chopped it up, and like it was cool getting to know him because I've known him for a little bit, but like how you were saying, like getting to know somebody behind what they do and why they do it is even doper.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
People want to have that genuine feeling whenever they, and you know what? That's what brings fans. You know what I'm saying? I've noticed a lot of the times when I do a show and people come up to me and they ask me questions and things like that, like those are that's shit that I like. You know what I'm saying? The shows sometimes feel like a job sometimes. Like, fuck, I gotta go do another show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like a job, but when you go around people and they start asking you questions and they're curious about you, that's what feels good to me. You know what I'm saying? That's what feels good.
Like,
to
you
me.
care about me?
What? You give a fuck about what I'm saying? Nah, that's dope that you do the MMA, bro. I remember like way back when I first started watching UFC. Chuck Liddell was my man.
Hell yeah.
Bro, Chuck Liddell was my man.
Dropping motherfuckers.
Bro, that was and then when he lost to fucking, who did he lose to? Rashad, I think it was.
Yeah, he knocked him out, folded him. Dang.
My little child soul at the time was so hurt, brother. But that's dope that you have, you know, a bunch of things that you're into, and you know, you remind me a lot of myself where you know your success and you know your worth, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like we're both the type of people that if we keep pushing ourselves, there's no reason why this shit can't be.
I say that time, like I'm in my lane, going at my pace. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm going 100, sometimes I'm going like 10.
Yep.
But I'm in my lane and I just keep going forward. And I always try to like, you know, try to meet the right people that they're in their lanes, but they can, you know, see me.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to get in their lane. They're not trying to get in mine, where I'm trying to just generally just like, hey man, I saw this shit. You were doing that shit. Hey, that's dope, man. That's cool, man. And I always tell people all the time, man, if I can inspire somebody, like, it's not that I'm like trying to be like an inspiring person, but I always tell people, man, I'm 39, dog. I'm gonna be 40.
What the fuck?
Right? I'm gonna be 40.
You fucking liar.
dog, real. And but I say that all the time, bro. I'm like, I take care of myself. You know, I'm always learning. You know, I'm always trying to strive to be the best version of me.
Yeah.
And I always like people, you know, implanted that in me like growing up. I always had I grew up playing roller hockey, so I had a lot of older guys, and they would always be telling me, take care of yourself, do this, do the right thing, go to school, get a job, like things that you need to hear. So every time that I people like, hey man, you're doing this, and like, yeah man, are you doing this, are you doing that? Yeah, you should start doing it. Like, just I feel like if I could be a little beacon and a little light to all of a sudden, like, oh, I heard Jimmy say that, and then him and King were talking about that, and now I'm like, it inspired me to do that. That's the kind of shit that I like hearing. You know, so many times people hit me up or message like, dog, you were talking to this fool and you guys said this, that shit hit home, man. And that's like how you were saying, when people come up to you after the shows, those are the kind of shit that I like to hear.
Yeah, brother. And you have the platform to do that, because some people don't have that person in their life every day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sure me and you are fortunate that we've had those people in our lives.
Yeah.
But some people, they don't get to hear that side of shit. They don't have that, hey man, you can do this shit. Hey bro, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great to have the people around you that aren't yes men.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
They're always gassing you.
Yeah, don't be I don't want to hear you gassing me all the time. If I'm fucking up, you gotta tell me I'm fucking up. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, some people don't have that. And you having this platform and getting your voice out there and getting other people's voices out there, you never know whose life you're gonna say, brother.
Yeah,
all
man.
it takes is
That's
one person
dope.
to hear
Hell
something, and they're like, "Damn," you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? Let me call an audible real quick.
Yeah,
and let's do shit a different way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's the beautiful thing about having this platform like this, bro, is that you get to reach so many people and you never know who.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm just a dude trying to enjoy, you know, recording shit, talking to people, and just making some dope content, and I hope people like it, man.
Yeah.
With that being said, man, I do appreciate your time coming out here, chopping it up. I look forward to checking you out more with all the different collaborations and all the different things you got going on. Before I get out of here, man, you know, plug yourself. Where could they find you? You know, some of your music, your Instagram, you know, kind of plug all that kind of shit.
Hell yeah. Hey, man, once again, I appreciate y'all time and checking us out on JimmyDukesGaming Podcast. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe button to my boy. Follow him. Man, we got a lot of things coming out. My boy Jamie Duke said he gonna come in the studio and spit some bars soon. So he might surprise
I'm gonna
us.
spit. I don't know about spitting some bars and shit, but I'll be in there.
Yeah,
You know what? I would love to just come out and just be a fly on the wall, man.
Hey, bro, absolutely.
One time,
You know
one of these
what?
times, we'll figure it out.
I'm sure we can learn a lot from each other when it comes to the EQing and the mixing, you know.
I'm always like with the lighting, anything like with cameras or like voice, dude. I'm always like, hell yeah, we'll talk about that shit, man.
Brother, hell yeah. But hey, man, make sure you follow me on Instagram at the real King Nex, man. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate my boy Jamie Duke.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. Thank you so much, bro. Good shit, dog.
Appreciate you, brother.
Make sure to check them out. All the links will be there, guys. We're dropping podcasts all the time. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere. I do all types of shit. If you guys are seeing me for the first time because of King, man, thank you. Just content creator out of Paso, Texas. I do podcasts, videography. I play video games. I do unboxings. I just do anything that I have fun doing on YouTube and all that shit. But man, with that being said, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, brother.
Until next time,
Sun City.
peace out.